Hello, welcome to what is, I guess, episode 2 of ITSBUP. Interesting things said by uninteresting people. My name is Ben, and I'm saying this because one of us has to talk first.
I'm Tom, the second uninteresting person.
That's don't flatter yourself, mate. Let's hold back here.
I never do.
This has been an interesting evening so far, hasn't it? Because it's taken us a while to...
oh man, too long.
We've basically done the whole podcast off mic.
So we're going to... This is going to be crap for me and you. So we'll just have the same conversation again, and everyone else is going to be like, oh, it's so interesting. Well, they might not. They might think we're total idiots.
Fair enough, mate.
Which, you couldn't argue with.
Yeah, there's not really... there's no coming back from that, really.
Awesome.
So, what have you been up to since we last spoke? Anything that springs to mind?
Last thing I kind of did, I made a short video for the Connect and Create Festival.
Oh,
which you may
cool,
have seen,
yeah.
you may not have seen.
I did see it, actually, mate.
Facebook,
I really liked it. Yes, I did see it.
And that's really it. I've kind of the channel has been going very well.
Oh, cool, yeah.
So that's cool. Just on route for 2,000 subscribers.
Fantastic,
which is
mate.
awesome. That's about it, really.
I'm going to bake you a little cake, mate, with
Little
2,000, yeah.
That's going to be awesome.
And then you have to eat it on camera. Although that would mean your face on camera.
That's, well, I don't actually show
No
my
one
face.
wants that.
No one wants that. Especially not the viewers. The poor viewers.
So, big global news since we last hung out as well. What do you think of this old Trump fella?
Oh, yeah.
That's since we recorded. Yeah.
God, it was a long time ago. Okay. What do I think? Initially, I was like, holy crap. I remember waking up because I was following it before I went to bed. Actually, I think it started probably before I went to bed. And I was like, it was too early to tell. So I go to bed. Hopefully I wake up and Hillary Clinton will be in. Hopefully, at that point, I thought that was the right...
Yeah,
I thought that was the natural thing to go for, because why would you vote for Trump? He's clearly insane.
A moron, clearly.
and then when I woke up and I saw, I went on Twitter, because Twitter is the place for emerging news.
Uh-huh.
That's probably when Twitter's the best, actually.
Yeah.
And it was like Trump on track to win. I was like, holy crap. They've gone full Brexit.
Oh, yeah, dude. That's exactly
We've
how
had
I
our
felt.
moment, and now they've one-upped us. Yeah, shocked, I guess, a little bit. But since reading websites and all that, I don't think it's that shocking.
To be honest, I think you're right, mate. I think you're right.
It's that shocking. There was a really good Trump supporter, plaque billboard thing they were holding up, and it was probably rung true. It said the silent majority stands with Trump.
Okay.
And I bet that was so true. People that didn't really talk about it, probably got in the voting booth and were finally happy to be like, I can be away from all these people that have, insulted. Because it's... Do you follow that Jonathan Pye guy?
I know who he is. I don't follow him too close, but I know the guy,
He did a really good bit on it, and he said basically the left, which is obviously Hillary Clinton more lefty, the left have gotten so... Basically saying the left have gotten so up their own arse about saying if you're right, you're racist, you're a bigot, you're an idiot, you don't know anything, that it's their own fault that people vote that because they haven't engaged with them. They've just kind of put them into that pocket of people and said, you're a sexist. The
trouble is, they've given them a fight.
Yeah.
That's what, do you know what I mean? They've set up, I know obviously it's a two-party system.
Fight.
Exactly. They've said, no, we're your enemy. We're the ones you need to fight even harder against.
Yeah. And I think the people that didn't really talk about it, that weren't too, hot on politics or whatever, probably got into that booth and thought, they probably had, thoughts of, immigration's probably out of control, whatever they thought. And finally, without anybody watching, voted for Trump. Yeah.
Well, this is the thing, mate. I mean, you've got to give it to the guy. I mean, he's appealed to exactly the people that he wanted to appeal to. He's gone, we've got all these problems. Don't worry about what's causing the problems, but we've got all these problems and I'm going to fix them. Don't worry about how.
Yeah. He said what people
exactly.
Like to hear.
So I'm going to fix this problem.
The only thing that really scares me about him is the climate change thing.
This is what I was going to ask.
This
is exactly what I was going to talk to you about, actually.
Yeah.
Because this kind of relates roughly to what we were talking about at the end of last time's podcast. With Mars exploration, because now he wants to go back to the moon, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I think that's the plan. It's why?
It's not made of cheese.
It's not made of cheese, Donald. It's the Russians are looking to build a base on the moon. So maybe something to do with it.
Maybe that is Nazi secret moon base.
Dude,
what do they want to build a base for on there?
Well, I guess it could be like a jumping off point maybe, or just to do it, just to say, we've got a base on the moon.
Yeah, moon's
But
ours. Yeah.
I like to think that Donald Trump pictures it kind of like Moonraker, or like Total Recall maybe, where it's going to be...
Definitely there's stations and mutants.
Yeah. It's like, are you working on the laser guns? Why are we not working on the laser guns? They're going to be fantastic.
We've got the best laser
We've got
guns.
the best laser guns. They're the best
gonna be
laser guns.
huge.
You're going to love them. Don't even worry about it.
But yeah,
Don't even think about it.
I wasn't, after I read a good deal, I wasn't that surprised. I was like, do you know what? It almost makes sense now.
Yeah.
Dude, there's one Jonathan Pye video I sent to you, and he speaks about how it happened, and he's so spot on with it.
Yeah,
he's
sure.
so spot on. And if anyone's still wondering why Trump got in, it's worth watching.
No,
it's incredible. But yeah, what do you think?
Mate, it's pretty much exactly the same, to be honest. I think we're in a bit of an echo chamber here between me and you, because it is. I mean, and I suppose that's half the trouble, isn't it? But I can see why it's happened. I think it's going to be a scary time. The stuff he's genuinely talking about doing. But then, I mean, from the outside, you can always see it, that when they switch from one party to the other, as they generally do, when they change after a couple of turns, and normally a party shift as well, there's always this thing where everyone's scared that the new president will undo everything that's been done and it'll be back to square one, and it isn't. It's generally like that.
I mean, the president, despite being the figurehead and all that sort of stuff, it's still Congress. I'm not overly sure of how it all works over there, but I know there's still like a Congress, and they all have to decide for forward. And...
Yeah. Here's hoping.
Yeah,
we shall see, mate.
It's okay. It's like he's like pally with Farage and all that. It's a bit.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Farage just reminds me of like a comic, like a character. He's such a character. He's almost like he doesn't exist. Do you know what I mean? He's like
a mythical being.
He's like this strange politician that says, even his mouth when he opens it just looks fake.
Yeah,
it's like a puppet or something. I don't get it.
Random change of subject, but only because it's quite a short story that I saw and I wanted to tell you about.
Okay, I'm excited.
And it just relates to international news, which we can call this segment International News. Did you hear about those Australian golfers who got into that North Korean golfing tournament?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. And they're like, they just sent an email.
Yes, apparently so. Now there is a sad ending to the story, which is apparently.
No.
Well,
I've
apparently
only heard about it kind of roughly.
I'll tell you right. The good bit of the story is this. Okay, the two Australians who were just on holiday apparently decided, hey, let's go to North Korea for this golf tournament. That's fine.
Dodgy place to do it.
Well, apparently now they were less than good. Came pretty close to last, and they had official Australian polo shirts made up. Like they found a tailor to kind of just embroider on a couple of logos, and then they were terrible, and then they got rumbled, and then they came home, and now apparently the North Korean government are going, you need to come back and apologise. You need to go and say sorry on national TV.
Way.
Right, this is what they're saying. They're like, we don't fancy going to a North Korean prison for life, thanks, so we're not coming back. But then, I heard this story, I thought, talk to Tom about that. A few days went by, looked it up again to, refresh the old details in my noggin. Apparently, it wasn't like that official a tournament anyway. It was organised by like a holiday company where they just they just got in touch with the holiday company and went, we want to go to North Korea and play golf. And they went, yeah, all right.
Oh, that's a bit lame.
Dude, I was gutted.
I was imagining like Kim Jong-un, whatever he's called, just sitting there, like, oh, they're not very good.
Yeah.
We're actually going to win.
Yeah. Well, apparently it's the same golf course where Kim Jong-il scored 11 hole-in-ones.
Mate, he is good at golf.
He was a cracker. He was a cracker at most things.
Mate, I understand how like people are like brainwashed from birth. But even if I was brainwashed from birth and someone said he got 11 hole-in-ones, I'd be like, did he? Yeah. I would like to see it.
Yeah.
I'm sure he can, but let's just see it. I don't think it would fly, even if I'm brainwashed. Like,
no.
I'd be like, that's exceptionally hard, and he's a heavy-set man.
Yeah. Dude, so we have a few things. Moving away from international news to local news, I guess. You have a film coming out.
Yeah.
Don't you?
I do. Okay, right.
Why don't we talk about that?
Okay. So, a couple of years ago, I got an iPhone 6 and it came with iMovie. Me and Ben have already had this conversation, but for
Well,
the
half
viewers,
of it, mate. I need to hear the end.
details.
I need to hear the end.
It came with the app iMovie, and on people that use iMovie will know you get like 7 trailers to pick from. You can have like an adventure trailer, horror, romance, comedy, all these sorts of things. And when I got the phone, people were just over anyway. I was like, oh, let's make a horror one. It tells you what to film. It'll put it together for you. It would take 5 minutes. And we did that. And I think we ended up spending like over half an hour on it because it was kind of funny. I was like, oh, let's give Nev a knife and let's make it actually kind of creepy. And like, people loved it. I don't want to be like that. People loved it. But, people on Facebook thought it was really funny. Because it's us, because people know us. And like, Nevin's kind of like good at being creepy in a non-offensive way.
Yeah, sure.
It was like, oh, that was funny. At some point we should do another one. And it just went away for ages. It went away. And like I said on the last podcast, last year I got a camera and all that sort of stuff. And the whole movie thing, like doing my YouTube channel and helping out other people and all that sort of stuff came back round. And Nev was like, oh, let's film a real one. Let's do it properly.
I feel like you're missing the best bit here. What's the title of the film?
Oh, yeah. The title's Rabichi. Rabichi. So it's Rabichi. Rabichi. And I think Nev was saying it because I can't remember specifically. I think Nev makes up words when he burps. He's like, at the moment, it's like, he goes like, he'll burp and he'll go like gumbalala. Like it's like you really have to be there to hear. It's kind of like a really guttural. It was at one point it was Wrigley's chewing gum. So he'd burp, he'd be like Wrigley's chewing gum. It was weird. It won't make much sense to people that are just watching it but listening. But Rabichi was one of the original ones, and it kind of became a word we were all saying a lot. And then it just turned into chi eventually. Uh-huh. And like if Nev or us were ever confused something, we just go, chi? Like, what does that mean? Anyway, it comes back around. Nev's like, let's do a real film. Let's make it. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. Really kind of happy and go lucky, excited about it. And we got like some fake blood and like planned out a little story. In fairness, Nev did a lot of like the story writing and all that sort of stuff. And it's still like 1 page long, like this is going to happen. We didn't really plan it, just like come over one night, we'll film it. Doesn't really matter what we've got some fake blood, we've got a knife, that's kind of all we need.
Yeah.
And we filmed it and ended up filming like loads of bits here and there, and there's kind of like a rough outline of the story. It's riddled with continuity errors, like because my girlfriend Callie's like the main character, I guess the victim in it, and she makes a cup of tea at one point and then walks back into the room without it. Like, that whole scene was making the tea, and she just comes back in, no tea. And I'm like,
man, don't point it out, dude. Don't point it out.
It's funny for people that listen to this.
We'll have to have like 10 errors, things
10
missed.
Errors, yeah, next
things
time.
Missed.
And anyway, filmed it, and it was all done. Excited about editing it, and then suddenly I got really, really busy. And everyone was like, where's the film? Because I filmed it probably about pushing 3 months ago now. We filmed it. It was a long time ago. And it kind of turned into a running joke that would never happen.
Yeah, yeah.
And it just like, and it was like joke amongst my friends, like, that'll never happen. Like, bloody
bloody show you, mate.
Yeah, this week was the first week when I felt like, this is going to sound really lame. This is the first week I've had where I felt like I could leave my channel to do it. Because things have been going quite smoothly last few videos.
Yeah.
I'm happy to let them kind of simmer for a bit.
Sure. Okay.
Usually I try and churn them out to keep the content going. But these ones have been so, without blowing my own trumpet, going very well.
Yeah.
Overall making up like pretty much half my plays, which is amazing. They're on like 40,000 and 30,000 respectively. So they're doing well. I was like, do you know what? I've actually got time to sit down and get this sorted. And
back to what I love.
Back to one I love.
Back to the art project.
And then I said last week, I was like, I'm going to do it this week. And then didn't do it last week. And then it became the joke all over again. And I was like, not this week. Not this time. So I went back to it. I've finished it today. There's some sound things I need to sort out, just levels. The sound's all in the right places. And it's out on Friday. Which will probably be before this airs.
Sure, yeah.
Friday the 2nd of December. a Christmas film for the whole family. It's 3 minutes long. It's riddled with continuity errors.
So, Tom, where is this going to be available to watch?
Do you know? I don't know yet. We're thinking
it's not really bite review material, is it? It's not going on the channel.
I think we're going to put it on Callie's channel because hers is a bit more like.
Okay.
And she's in it, so I'm happy for her to have it. Yeah, it's just kind of silly. I think if people like it, I say people like it. People
will like it
if we've enjoyed
don't
it.
Put yourself
we'll
down.
do another one. We'll make something else. At college where I work, we've got a green screen, so I talked to Nev about doing like a classic film noir one, like black and white, and just have the LA
brilliant.
in the 30s in the background, or something, and the classic like car on a moving background, like maybe something really stupid around that.
The trouble is, man, the trouble is that you've fallen into this horrible trap, which is that when you do something for a laugh and it turns out semi-enjoyable, it starts being a thing that you end up doing all the time, man.
I know. But yeah, that's the story of Rabichi.
It's coming to cinemas near you, limited screening. Dude, because this kind of links on to something else we're going to talk about, which I know we've already talked about quite a lot this evening.
Yeah.
But I know we want to talk about video games as a form of storytelling.
Yeah.
As a form of art.
An
It sounds, when we say it like that, it sounds really pretentious.
It does sound really pretentious.
We want to talk about video games as a form of storytelling, as a storytelling medium. But it was just literally a little conversation that we had, wasn't it, that kind of grew a little bit. Yeah.
So basically, video games as art. We just kind of talked about it, but basically, I think. Well, where to start? We start with that Dara Breen quote, because he says in his comedy stand-up, he's like, a video game is the only type of media that will stop you from advancing unless you've got a certain skill level. Doesn't matter what game it is, if you can't beat that level, then you can't move on. And there's no other form of media that does that. There's no book that stops halfway and says, what are the main themes before we carry on? It doesn't exist. There's no film that will just pause and say, what just happened?
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. And video game is the only type of media that will demand from you. Yeah. It needs your input for you to carry on.
Sure.
So I think that's interesting anyway, because there isn't any other media that does that.
Well, the thing is as well, it's exploded so much the last few years, much more so than before. I mean, Metal Gear Solid is a much touted example of this. Where it's almost become more of a movie than an actual game.
Yeah,
and I think that's okay. I mean, I know we were talking before about how some people really don't feel the story in a game is important as long as it's
plays well.
As long as as long as it's kind of hitting those dopamine hits. Like, okay, I've reached the next level. Yep, I'll carry on playing. Just keep pushing the button,
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I think there is there obviously is a real market for games that are immersive. But what's interesting is, and I guess we can people will be able to infer in context if I talk about what you talked about before.
Yeah.
But when you were saying about playing Bioshock.
Yeah.
And it's the memory of how you played it.
Yeah.
It's being, like you're saying, sat on, not to tell your story, but sat in the, with the headphones kind of in the dark, play and you remember the whole. Because I had that with the first Halo game.
Yeah.
When my brother and I had an Xbox for the first time, right? And I remember really clearly that Christmas period of eating chocolate and playing Halo.
Yeah.
And it's getting to the end and getting through probably one of the best video game endings still, I reckon. On the Warthog, right? This big long driving sequence, very intense. We were doing 2 players, so
it is intense as well. I remember that sequence. Yeah, if you've got 2 people, it's even more like, come on.
Yeah, yes.
And especially when it flips over and you've got to write it, it's like, the stress.
It's like, oh god, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
But then Metal Gear Solid. Have you played that through to the end?
I played the first one,
with the ending in the escape in the Jeep.
Yeah.
Right, incredible. I played that when I was in hospital for a few weeks.
Yeah,
like when I was a lot younger.
Mate,
played
what
that
memory,
dude. I know, right? I know. But the thing is, I played it without a memory card because the hospital PlayStation had no memory card. So I played it. Dude, I just played it through one big long sesh. And while palming off
the kids,
lots of little kids, yeah.
Do you mind? I'm a quarter way through.
Yeah. When I say palming off the kids, I'm making the motion of like a rugby player, not like not anything else. But dude, so maybe it's like it's what you give the story. It's what you put into it as well.
It's investment, isn't it? It is like watching a film. It is like reading a book.
Yeah.
Because you get so invested. And the thing is with a video game, which you don't get with other things, is you especially some video games designers use this as an excuse, I think. But when you've got a silent protagonist, you imprint on them, and the reason they don't speak is because you're like, it's me.
Yeah.
He obviously can't speak because he's doing my actions.
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
should he have a voice?
Yeah.
And I think that's, Half-Life 2. That kind of moves forward in one regard where I agree, like, it is your decision, but the plotline moves along regardless of what decision you make. So, are you really imprinting on them, or is it just like a cheap way of saying, oh yeah, that's you?
Yeah. Well, it's like there's what's quite nice about it is that some of it's a kind of, it's called a Hobson's choice, where whatever choice you make, what's going to happen will happen anyway, and it looks like you've made it happen. Yeah.
Mate, it's like, did you play Mass Effect 2?
I didn't play the second one. No, I played the first one.
Yeah, mate, there's a very good example of that in Mass Effect 2.
Okay, but it's that exact kind of thing though, where because I'm thinking of Half-Life specifically, where you feel as though you're affecting it maybe more than you actually are.
Yeah.
But in a totally fine way, in a totally good way.
Mate, this is really key to bring up now, actually, as you've just mentioned that. Did you play Bioshock Infinite?
No.
Right.
No, for my sins, dude.
Let me just reiterate. I won't ruin anything for you because it is worth playing. Towards the end of the game, basically, it's Bioshock Infinite was made by Ken Levine, who made the first Bioshock, but didn't make Bioshock 2.
Sure.
And I think that's quite a bitter moment for him
and
that whole period. When he made Infinite, basically the idea of Infinite, without spoiling anything, is they really play off that Infinite thing. So you're, I was trying my best not to ruin it for you. You play as this guy called Booker. And without ruining anything, you're the 139th Booker to go to this location and to do this certain thing. And the idea is infinite. You do it over and over and over and over and over. And then he takes that, Ken Levine then uses that as a metaphor for saying what you just said. Doesn't matter what you do in the game, choices, and in the game you get loads of choices.
Yeah.
And then right at the end, it shows you all those choices and it shows you how utterly ineffective they were to the story. It makes no difference at all.
No way.
And he's kind of having a go at the medium in general, because in Bioshock 1 you get like a good ending and a bad ending.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
And basically they say it doesn't really matter because there's no. The story plays out exactly the same the entire way. There's differences in voice acting. There's differences in how people say hello to you and stuff. But at the end of the day, the game is the game, regardless of what choice you've made throughout that thing.
Yeah.
And in Infinite, he keeps smashing that into your head. He gets really up his own arse about it. No
Fair
offense
enough.
to him. He's just like, video games as a medium are bad because your choice doesn't matter. And at the moment, he's actually working on story blocks.
Okay.
So his new game, whatever it is, will almost like a Minecraft. It will have all these story blocks, thousands, and each combination will be different. So every time you play the game, your story will be totally different.
That's really interesting.
Which is cool.
Yeah. Well, the thing is as well, I mean, just not to touch on it too much, but they say that when you shuffle a pack of cards, because the total number of different combinations of 52 cards is 52 factorial, so it's 52 times 51 times 50 times 49, and it's more. The total is more than the number of atoms in the universe.
Whoa.
So it's like if you shuffle a pack of cards properly randomly, chances are that has never existed before. Yeah. So even with say 30 different story blocks, I would guess. I mean, depending on if the order's truly random, etc. Then, because there was a play, wasn't there? There's probably been a few of them where the big kind of pull point for it is that each card in a deck of cards would relate to a certain scene. The cast would come out and throw the cards everywhere, gather them back up, and then act out the play in that order.
So it's never the same.
So it's never the same. Yeah. So it's highly, highly unlikely to ever be the same. But no, and that sounds really cool.
The trouble is, would it make sense? I guess that's probably what they're working out.
I guess so, yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, to talk about Bioshock anyway, because I was saying to you before we got started, because it took so long to get our interface working.
Shut up! Don't show them behind the curtain.
When I first played Bioshock, my brother had just gone to uni. I'm going to reiterate the story.
Yeah,
brother had just gone to uni. He'd left his gaming PC at the time at home.
Was it like a 133 processor?
Yeah, Pentium, dual core. It was racing, mate. It was absolutely insane. 2 gig of RAM. Blistering. Do you know what? I actually think it was 4. but whatever, doesn't matter. It was like a clear case as well. You could see all the lights. Do you know, he went full on with it. I think it had horns on the side.
Yes.
Disgusting by today's standard, but for a teenage kid,
Perfect.
Wow,
Yeah.
whoa, this is a serious
Pretty
machine.
slick. Yeah.
Pretty cool. Anyway, I remember watching the reviews for Bioshock and thinking, wow, I need to play this game. It's apparently so good.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying if you can play it on PC, because that seems to be the general gist of a lot of games. It's
Sure,
like,
yeah.
if you can play it on PC, because your frame rate's going to be better and it's going to be better overall. Aside from the new Batman games, which are all on PC, apparently. So yeah, I got it, and Matt had taken his speakers with him, so I had headphones on. I was totally involved in the whole thing. And Bioshock's probably one of those best games for it, with all the trickling water and all that sort of stuff. And it was just incredible. And like I was saying to you earlier, Bioshock was the first game ever, when I was 17 at the time, it was the first game ever that really showed me that a video game can actually be a piece of genuine art.
Yeah.
The whole thing was so well designed. The story was incredible. The art direction was like something I'd never seen before. The whole idea of like powers and plasmids and guns and how everything related together, and you fight your own way and all that sort of stuff. But the main thing, like I was saying to you, was the story.
Yeah.
And for those of you who haven't played it, it's really worth playing, but I think we're okay with spoilers, because
I think
it's pretty much 10
it's
years
a very
old
old
now,
game.
isn't it?
Yeah. If you desperately don't want spoilers for this old game,
Yeah.
then I'll put it in there. But
Yeah, you basically, the second you get there, you get a radio, and the guy on the radio called Atlas guides you through the whole thing, and he's like your pal. Like he's a proper nice guy.
mentor,
Sorts you out.
Yeah.
Mentor, gives you presents. You classically don't really see much of him. You see him very vaguely in the distant, but you feel good. You know, you're helping him. His family is stuck down in this place called Rapture. And you're like, God, I want to help him because you're stuck there as well.
Yeah.
And then right towards, probably, it's not even that far. I wouldn't say it's like that close to the end. It's probably like 2/3 of the way through. And then it's the big reveal, isn't it? It's like he's been lying to you for the whole time. You've actually been under mind control. And it's like your character has this intense flashback, and the first thing he says to you is what he says to the controller is, "Would you kindly?"
Yeah.
And you have this intense flashback to the first thing you do, and he says, "Would you kindly pick up that shortwave radio?"
Yeah.
And it is the first thing you do. Oh my God, the entire time he's been controlling your entire actions.
It's incredible. In terms of game design though, that's very astute to realise that you can do that, because we were talking about, well, a minute ago you were saying about how video game plots are pretty, at the end of the day, I don't want to say they're linear, they're not all linear, but you can predict a path through a game if you need to.
You can tell what's going to happen.
Yeah, there are certain beats you're going to hit, certainly, towards the end. So to realise you could just play that off as you're being told to do it, because you're going to do it anyway. Yeah. That's clever to have that kind of just realisation and work it into the story, for sure.
But the thing, like I was saying earlier, the thing is his whenever he speaks to you, he's got a little character icon on the bottom left, and he's Atlas. He looks like he's Irish, isn't he?
Yes.
And he's got this kind of nice guy look, like
looks like a friendly chap.
Someone you share a drink with. And then he suddenly, when this is all revealed, he turns into this guy called Frank Fontaine, who he's been all along. Bold, quite a hard look on his face.
Yeah, sure.
And he suddenly changes, and he's like, "You fell for it," and all this sort of stuff. He starts talking horrible, and you can't believe it. I mean, at the time, my little 17-year-old mind was blown. I was like, I've been lied to this whole time.
Yeah.
I didn't see it coming. I thought we were in this together.
Yeah.
All this stuff he's made you do, you realise you didn't even know you were being controlled. Obviously, it's the only path forward anyway.
Yeah.
But you don't realise that. It was just incredible. At that time, mind was blown.
Do you know what it reminds me of a little bit, in a weird kind of way? It's not exactly the same, but I know you played Portal.
Yeah.
In the first Portal, when you go behind the curtain, sort of about halfway through, isn't it? Where it all looks like it's going wrong, and you think
things start breaking.
Yeah,
don't they? Yeah.
But it's that bit where you're going, where you're in peril towards the flames.
Yeah.
And the way you find your way out from there.
Yeah.
The first time you do it, you start thinking, "Hang on, this can't be right. This is
because
it feels really wrong. It feels like I shouldn't have had to do this to get." And I think it's that same kind of thing. Is when you start feeling like the game is all of a sudden more than you thought it was.
Yeah, like that's a realization of an incredible piece of art. Like whole.
And I think And you know what? I think that is justification for why they can be good as art and as storytelling devices.
Yeah, definitely. Because I remember that bit in Portal really clearly, because like you're going towards the flame pit.
Yeah.
Spoilers, but again,
spoilers.
So
there's
old.
flames.
Yeah.
What colour are the flames?
You're going into it. Yeah. And then there's you can only put portals in certain areas, can't you?
Yes.
But there's one above the flames in a safe zone, but there's no obvious one to your left or right to jump into. But you put it on the wall to the right or the left, and you can just make the jump.
Yeah,
and it doesn't, any other jump, you wouldn't try and make it.
Yeah, yeah.
But because you're in such peril, you think, oh my God, but you can just make it.
I think you deliberately can't see that bit until you've been heading into the fire for a little while. Like you come round this corner maybe a little bit.
A big corner, and it's like, that's it, you're going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, another point of a game like really proving its worth.
Yeah,
definitely. And that game was like a test anyway. It was kind of like a jokey kind of.
Again,
but I would argue that game is almost like the story is almost better than Half-Life. It is such a well-contained chunk.
Do you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of just like a late night B movie, like an old sci-fi kind of.
Have you heard of that book where it's like, I've got no mouth, but I must scream. I must scream. Yeah, dude.
Yes,
it's like
dude.
that.
Yes, mate.
Like where the AI hates humanity. It just wants to it doesn't want to kill them. It just wants to torment them forever.
Yes. Yeah.
And it reminded me of that.
Dude, it's in a funny kind of way. Not quite, but I've read a fair bit of a guy called John Wyndham.
Yeah,
an old sci-fi writer from around the 50s. It's that same kind of style where it's like they've had one idea, they've had a really good, solid idea, and not tried to make it into a massive novel or not tried to make it into a massive long film or
just
a long game.
Concentrated on that.
They've gone, let's explore this idea fully, but then only take as long as that takes and then stop.
Yeah.
And just keep that and just keep it really nicely self-contained.
I had exactly the same when I was playing. Did you play Fallout 3?
No, dude, I've never played any Fallout.
Wow.
Never played
Fallout. Doesn't matter about spoilers again, really old. In Fallout 3, you know it's like post-apocalyptic.
I know of it, yeah.
Basically, there's one part where you're finding your dad. That's the crux of the story. You've got to find your dad. You go into this other vault, and in the vault, everyone's in virtual reality. So they're all in like these pods, and you get into the pod, and suddenly the body you inhabit in the pod is like a really young version of yourself. You've got no weapons, nothing, and when you bring up your Pip-Boy, and usually when you bring up your Pip-Boy for that, all your stats, all your weapons, all this like you bring it up just to watch. Okay. And you can't. There's no pointers. It doesn't tell you exactly what to do, and it's all black and white. And then you're in this place called Tranquility Lane, where it's like an idealistic thing. Where where everyone lives really happily, but then you get there and you're like, I want to get out, and everyone else has kind of been in there so long they don't think it's fake, and it's only you, and you've got to fight against it. It's a really interesting segment, and a lot of people saying that's the best part of the entire game. Yeah, but that's a good example of like one section that's just so well done. Yeah, and when it is so well contained, and when you get out of it, there's no mention of it again, and I think that's quite good because it is just so good.
It's almost like it's not trying to do it with fanfare. It sounds like
it's just like, this is my bit, and it's awesome.
Awesome. Dude, after we met up last time, I left you with this. I'm holding it up.
It's a book.
It's a book.
It's called What If?
It is. It's by Randall Munroe, who's the same guy who does the XKCD website. And I think it's because I kind of followed he does this as a kind of separate site, like a sister site to XKCD, which incidentally is quite a cool webcomic. I think everyone knows XKCD.
Oh, yeah, it always pops up, doesn't it?
If you there's so many good ones, but on the sister site, the What If site is really, really good. Yeah, basically he just takes submissions for scientific questions, but maybe ridiculous scientific questions.
Yeah, like crazy ideas.
Yeah. What did you think?
It was awesome. But like that's easy for me to just say it was awesome. It's like the book's laid out so you could just literally open at any page and just read it, because they're all individual questions. Each answer's like 2 pages long, or maybe less, or maybe more, depending on how difficult the question is. But
like a toilet book.
It's a classic coffee table book. Yeah, pick it up when you're waiting. You've got 10 minutes to burn, and you could just whack through probably about 3 or 4 questions. But the question that stood out, there's 2 questions that really stood out to me, and we did speak about these, but we'll speak about them again. Like I say, we had a long conversation.
Stop looking behind the
curtain. There's one where the question. This is the one that made me laugh the most and really made me kind of like find out the book is actually really quite funny. Yeah. Someone asks, he's like, what would happen if in a baseball game a pitcher threw a ball at the speed of light at the batsman? Like, what would happen? And he goes into like really kind of he goes into really big detail, but not in a lot of words. So it's still really short. It's like short enough to read, and anyone could get it. You don't have to be a scientist to understand it or anything like that. It's very, very open. But he basically says by the time the pitcher had like even begun to do it, because obviously he needs to be traveling like extremely fast.
Yeah.
By the time the second the ball leaves his hand is when he assumes it goes into light speed. Like his arm is already disintegrated at this point, and like his body is just like gone.
Vaporized.
All behind him, everything within like 10-mile radius has been completely vaporized. This is just after the ball's like, like a millimeter away from probably even less. And it's just saying the batsman wouldn't have time to even like see it.
Yeah.
It's just saying that all the people around would just see this massive explosion, and the batsman would be, everything in a 5-mile radius is just like completely gone.
Yeah.
And that was probably one of the funniest ones, definitely.
Awesome.
But it had some sad ones as well, like the talks about soulmates. Do you remember that one?
The soulmate one, I do. Yes. Where isn't it? He's calculating the popularity, the probability of finding your soulmate if you have one on the planet.
So it's assuming like everyone has a soulmate.
Yeah, but just one.
Just one.
Yeah.
But then he says like if it were true, then it wouldn't matter what point in time you were born. So if you're born like now, your soulmate could have died tens of thousands of years ago.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's it's quite a sad answer.
Yeah.
And he's basically saying like and it reminded me of a Black Mirror episode. And it's saying only the elite. It's basically saying 1 in 10,000 people would find their soulmate. Yeah. Which seems quite high. But they're just saying...
Not if you're one of the other 9,900.
Yeah. But he says, like, it would be... Basically, people would... He says, to assume you know how to find your soulmate, you'd look each other in the eye and then you'd know.
That's it, yeah.
And he's saying people would flock to places where there's lots of people and they'd all be kind of looking at each other. And then he was saying, like, the government would probably find out a conveyor belt where you could look people in the eye one by one. And it just reminded me of something out of Black Mirror. You could just imagine people looking at each other, trying to get the best. Like,
come on.
No. And it was interesting. That was a cool one.
One of my favourite ones in there is we don't have to talk about this like all night, but one of my favourite ones in there was figuring out how much power Yoda can output.
Yoda,
yeah, dude, because what I love about it is that it's one of these things where you laugh at the question and you're like, oh, that's a ridiculous question, but then you can sit down and kind of go, well, actually, we can figure this out.
Yeah.
So basically he uses the scene where he pulls Luke's X-wing out of the swamp.
Yeah.
To demonstrate the power of the Force to Luke, He says that ignoring the prequels, that's where Yoda shines. He goes, look, I'm actually much more powerful than you realise, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he calculates that he knows the size of the X-wing because it's obviously Star Wars. Everyone knows the size of everything.
Yeah, there's pretty metric weights.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they figure out the weight of it. They figure out he measures how quickly he raises one landing strut out of the swamp. He knows how big Dagobah is, like or Dagobah.
Yeah.
The planet they're on. So he knows he knows like the gravitational pull, and he goes, well, it seems eccentric and seems kind of anal to figure this all out, but it's not difficult. Yeah, we can do the maths.
The maths is there.
Yeah, the maths.
He's obviously a smart guy as well.
Oh, dude, by all accounts, he's a bright cookie. But I like that. I like that because of the attitude that it displays.
He's like, no, we can figure this out.
Yeah,
there's ways. That is really cool.
No, dude, I'd recommend it as well. Not that we're going to be a book review show, but What If by Randall Munroe. I'd give it 9 out of 8.
I know, it was Ready Player One last time.
It was, yeah.
Which is an incredible work.
It is, yeah, dude, absolutely.
One of the only books I've read in the past 4 or 5 years.
I'm quite excited for the film of that as well. Although I haven't heard anything about it.
I've not seen any screenshots. No, nothing. I've seen nothing.
But apparently,
I hope it's still going forward.
Hey, speaking of films that I can't really give you many details about, but I can tell you my opinion of it.
Yeah.
I watched Eagle versus Shark the other day.
Eagle versus Shark sounds like the Sharknado.
Oh no, dude.
Esque films.
No. It's a film. Basically, think Napoleon Dynamite. If you're a fan of Napoleon Dynamite, you will enjoy Eagle versus Shark.
Right.
It's similar enough to make it funny in the same kind of way, but it is different enough that you don't just go, oh, just trying to make Napoleon Dynamite. Probably made around the same. I don't know this, but I'd guess probably made around the same sort of time.
Yeah.
But it's what's the guy's name? It's Taika Waititi.
Yeah.
He's which I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation of, but he's the director who is doing the new Thor movie.
Oh, that's
New
cool.
Zealand guy. Yeah, he's done loads of stuff in the past, and it's Jermaine Clement as well from Flight the Conchords.
Oh, okay.
So all worked together
Yeah.
like a load before. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's really good. But it's about a woman who is a bit. It's classically awkward, you know. It's an awkward film. Yeah. It's about a woman who is has a crush on Jermaine's character. This guy works in a video game shop, and their burgeoning romance, you know, and they're kind of like this relationship they have as they go on a bit of a road trip to his family home.
Yeah.
And just it's quite. I'd say it's more touching than Napoleon Dynamite is. So it's got that facet to it too. But yeah, dude, I can. As I say, I can't. You know, I don't want to go into too much detail with it and make it about that, but. Eagle versus Shark.
All right, I'll give it a watch. Try and watch it for next time.
Definitely worth watching. Yeah.
Awesome. So Casey Neistat. Casey Neistat.
They'll never know, mate. They'll never know.
They'll never know. Casey Neistat. So basically, Casey Neistat ended his vlog the other day, and I don't want to be like, "Oh, big internet news. He's ended his vlog." But he's an interesting guy. He really is. What he does and that sort of stuff, and how he rose to prominence and how he was on welfare and all that stuff. It's like a really good, it's like a new American dream story based around the internet about how good he is. But go on. What were you going to say?
You were going to tell me about his ending of
sorry, yeah.
That's okay, right?
That's okay.
Professional all the way.
He has an app called Beam.
Yes, yeah.
Well, he made an app with a friend called Beam, and Beam was like the best way to describe it is Snapchat. It was like Snapchat, apart from you can't edit the footage. You hold it against your chest, your phone, it records, and then when you take it off your chest, it sends it straight away. So there's no editing. You show exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
And because you hold it at that specific point, it gives you kind of that view that you get. It was an interesting app. I used it a few times, but I never really kind of. I guess because Snapchat's so big and you've got your main Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook. It's hard to break off from those, and then because all your friends are on the other ones. And he's just sold the app with his friend to CNN for $25 million.
Wow.
Which sounds like a lot, and he was saying it is a lot, and he did a really nice vlog post about it. He basically said, because so many internet things blew up, he does whatever he wants, makes an app, sells it for millions, he's a crazy millionaire, that sort of stuff. And he said it sold for a lot. It did sell for a lot, but he's got a team. It's not just him and this other guy. It's like there's a team, probably like 30, 40 people or whatever. I might be totally wrong, because whenever I see his vlogs, there's only like 2 or 3 people working at Beam, but I'm sure there's a lot more than that.
Yeah.
And he's moved to CNN to be a content creator or something like that for CNN.
Oh, okay.
So he stopped the vlog, and the vlog was like a really big thing for YouTubers.
Yeah,
in general.
Yeah.
I used to watch the vlog every day. I'd watch it when I was eating breakfast, because he's an interesting guy and lives in New York City, and it's interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
They're good vlogs as well. They're not like, oh, we're at a thing and this is what we're doing.
Yeah,
puts effort into them, and they are really good.
Yeah.
They're weird, because when I first started watching them, I was like, what on earth is it?
Yeah.
And I was realised I was just kind of watching his life, and I was a bit like, what's the point? And then before I knew it, I'd watch like 40.
Yeah.
And then I was watching them every day. Yeah.
What's weird is that I think we talked about Shay Carl last time. There's another guy who does a daily vlog. He's stopping his, also stopped his. Sometime around this time, he's stopping it. So I don't know. Is that the way it's going to go now? Do you reckon? I mean, is the day of the daily vlog gone?
Over. It's died with 2016. But basically, I think a daily vlog for him. Basically, Casey said he stopped it because to move from, and he did like a little analogy to move. He's like swinging in a jungle on vines. He said to move to the next vine, I have to let go of this vine to move on to my next project. And I get that, but he was saying the vlog became so second nature to him.
Yeah.
He's obviously a very creative guy, and spends all his time with video and all that sort of stuff. He was saying it became so stagnant for him as a creative person, without sounding lame, saying that or like a dickhead or whatever. He was saying it became too easy, and he's becoming like complacent with it, and it wasn't challenging him anymore, and he kind of just got bored of it. That's basically what he says. He got bored of it.
Yeah.
And he said when this CNN thing came up, he said what a good way to finish the vlog by moving on to something else.
And I suppose it gives him a reason to do it as well. If he'd
Exactly,
been thinking
yeah.
of quitting it,
Yeah.
at least it gives him a reason to move away.
But I mean, the things with a vlog, it's a huge. If you're doing a daily vlog,
Yeah.
that's a huge commitment
Yeah,
to
yeah.
edit that much video, because he's taking like 80 gig of footage a day.
Yeah.
That's a. Like,
I mean, but the thing is,
huge.
it's almost like, I mean, I could talk to you about keeping diaries and journals and things, but it's almost like journaling, but with it's with so much effort required behind. I know when he says it's second nature, but effort can be second nature. It doesn't mean it's not time consuming.
Yeah, he's still doing it he says he goes to bed about 1:30 every morning because
Exactly.
he's editing it until that time.
So it's like, you have to put all that in all the time, and it becomes that's what you do instead of doing something else. That becomes, even if that's not the aspect that people see in the video, you're doing things that you're videoing and making the videos of, but to you, that's what you do, is the making of the video itself. And your own life becomes just a tiny bit of the process.
That's what he said that as well. He's just like, I don't want to just film my life forever, because what life am I then leading? Is it for you or is it for me?
Yeah.
And that's kind of.
Although I have to say, there is, I mean, talking about it in terms of a diary or in terms of a journal, I get behind that. I think that's a good idea.
I think I think it's nice to look back on or anything. If you.
Well, dude. I mean, about a year ago, I started doing exactly that.
Yeah.
And I've been keeping the cool word is a journal now.
Journal.
Like, you don't say like a diary.
Is
like
it a digital journal?
It is. I use Evernote, and I keep I just
way.
keep like a few sentences every day. I've got it set up on my phone, so I have a shortcut. Good old Android to start a new journal note, tap in a few sentences, but literally just as much or as little as I like about what I've done.
Yeah.
If I've read something that's cool, or if I've seen something that's cool, whatever, type, done. That's it. I try and make it as little. I deliberately didn't want to fall into the trap of giving it a structure that I then have to stick to.
Because then it loses its worth.
Exactly.
Every day is different. So
And you know what? I get a lot of benefit out of it. A lot of benefit.
Do you go back and read it?
Occasionally, yeah. I mean, for example, this is such a silly example, maybe, but our mutual friend Randy was in Ireland, and I happened to text him while he was over there. I'd been to Ireland, to the same sort of area that he'd been to a few months before, so he said, "Oh, I'm here," and it wasn't. It makes me sound really cocky, or like I was trying to be really cool.
Yeah.
Just scanned back through the diary and went, "Oh, go here. Like, this beer was really cool." And this bar was nice, and you should go here and eat something like this, because that's what
That's what I
it was worth checking out.
Yeah.
And I don't know that. I'm not saying this is really. I want to make it really clear. I'm not suggesting it was cool in any way, or like I was swooping in and going, da, 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 isn't it amazing?
By the way,
but in answer to your question, I do. I refer back to it. I mean, with with my not New Year's resolutions, but at the start of the year, obviously I was writing about things like, this year it'd be cool if I did this.
Yeah.
And then a couple of months ago, I thought, let's just reflect. Let's go back, have a little look.
Yeah.
And it kind of just nudged me back on track a little bit with a couple of things, and going, look, you said you wanted to do this, haven't really done a lot about it, so get on with it.
I think there's a lot of stock to that.
Yeah, man, dude, I'm a big believer. I think a lot of people are put off because they go, for one, they just think it's just, I don't know, not cool, whatever. They don't see a benefit to it. They think
the benefit, yeah.
But that's the other thing, is that if people feel like they haven't got things to write, then, and this is the point I was going to make with the daily vlogging, is that when you're going to be recording it or writing about it, you act right. You do good things, or you do cool things.
You play up a little bit to the vlog.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, it's like that's your regular life that you're just enhancing a little
and then
bit.
Really, where is your life in the whole thing?
Exactly. So
It's
man, keeping a journal, I can definitely get down with that.
I was going to say, I miss Android a lot.
Really? Okay.
Because I'm still on the iPhone 7 Plus.
Yeah,
as fantastic as it is.
Mm-hmm.
I've still got my S7 Edge, and I would not kill to go back to it, because I've got a lot of work to do with this still.
Yeah,
it sounds
sure.
lame, but there's still a lot of videos I want to make, so I need to keep it.
Yeah, yeah.
But I would switch.
What
back.
are you going to be reviewing next? Is it silky smooth hand feel, or
I've done a
ringtone alarm selection?
Yeah. Ooh, ringtone comparison.
Ringtone. Please do that at Christmas.
Mate,
ringtone comparison.
Christmas ringtone comparison. A Christmas video. No, I've done the last one I did was a camera comparison, and that's gone down really well.
Oh, sure.
So the next one I'm doing is a speed one, and it's just literally sounds really lame, and you'd have to be a very certain type of person to watch it, like me, who watches that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But both phones next to each other, at all the same apps listed on them. Set a timer on both of them, then go opening up apps and closing them.
Okay, yeah.
Like literally, like as quick as you can.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert: the iPhone does win.
That's a pretty hefty spoiler.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, the one thing, like I said last time, that's great about Apple is it's so heavily optimized. And most apps, not all of them, but most are made for iPhone and most are ported to Android. Mostly, not saying all the time, but a lot of the time they are. So the iPhone does open them quicker, it does process them faster, and the iPhone's animations are actually quicker than Samsung's, which holds it back slightly. You can switch them off in Samsung, but it looks like trash.
Yeah.
It just like goes.
Yeah.
It just
on,
rubbish.
off.
Yeah. But yeah, I've got that video coming soon, and
do you know what I want to see you review? I think I might have mentioned this to you before. I want you to review Goo phones.
Yeah,
because I've seen speed comparisons between iPhones and Goo phones, and the Goo phones work really well. I mean, funnily enough, the only videos made like that are made by Goo phone. So, one of the reasons why I wouldn't mind seeing,
see lots of like glitches where it's like they've edited it.
Yeah, he's moving his finger really quickly. That's insane. But yeah, dude, I'm still looking at reviews for the Pixel as well. Because I am still heavily considering it.
If I was in the Android boat and I wasn't reviewing phones, I would heavily consider a Pixel.
Well, spoiler alert, I'm going to be saying I'm looking at a Pixel for the next 5-6 podcasts, I'm sure. Every time I'm still considering it.
Mate, before you consider the Pixel, it does look great, and I'm sure it is a great phone. I would still question the S7 Edge over it.
Oh, and really?
That's purely because the camera on the Pixel is like the best camera that Android's phones ever had. That's kind of proven. But the cameras are so good, and I said this in my latest video, cameras are so good in phones now that you can get any flagship and you will be over the moon of the results.
Okay.
The only time you can tell is when you put those pictures next to each other and go, actually, the iPhone's got better dynamic range.
Why doesn't someone do a video about that, Tom?
Mate, they have. Which is why I haven't done it. But the Pixel, as cool as it is, it's a dull design.
Mm-hmm.
There's no waterproofing. There's no wireless charging, which isn't a big deal, but it's kind of sucky. And there's no SD card expansion.
It's odd that Google haven't done wireless charging.
Yeah, especially when all their Nexus phones have it.
I get the SD expansion lack because they're pushing cloud storage for one.
And people use Spotify and music takes a lot of space if you've got a lot of it.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of cool. I did see that Google were doing something. This is going to be so uninteresting to so many people, but it's kind of interesting to me because of the day job.
Yeah.
Google AI, they're now using it to analyze retinal photographs.
Really?
So photographs of the back of your eye, and they reckon they're getting algorithms and processes down that can identify. So basically, it's like if you're diabetic, you have changes at the back of your eye which aren't good. They reckon the Google AI can now start to pick out these changes, even in the early stages, and go, click, you should get checked out. Click, you should get checked out, which is scary because it is starting to hand over healthcare to AI. Which is they're saying it's not a replacement. It's all the standard caveats. They're going, this is for developing countries where they haven't got anything else.
Yeah.
But it's only a matter of time, mate, before it starts to creep in.
There seems to be such an amazing, good, healthy use for AI.
Yeah.
But then it's got an equal and also devastating dark side to it. Doesn't it? We've scanned. We know who you are.
Yeah.
And they could take that print and put it onto someone else and be like, no, you robbed this bank. Do you know what?
Can I just request that and get a cool person to steal my identity and I'll still swap an identity
with them? Really cool.
So what are you now? Well, I live on a beach and just drink cocktails all day. That's what you're like. Oh, okay, fair enough.
Oh man, mate, dude, it is just like my friend Jared always says. You've got to love dinosaurs to be in it.
So moving on. I have one last thing that I want to talk to you about.
Go for it.
Because we talked about it briefly. We mentioned it. That is brilliant, by the way.
It is brilliant. Every podcast now.
Man. I have to get a catchphrase. Wiggity, wiggity.
It's not, yeah. Dude, have you watched Rick and Morty?
Oh, man. Yeah, of course I have. Of course I have.
Right, we'll talk about some other time.
That'll be, dude, that can be next podcast. But yes, mate, I want to talk to you about accents because I read that book and I know you said you had a comment.
Yeah.
Dude, so go on. What was it? I don't know. Is it a negative? Is it good? Is it positive?
It was kind of like, it was a negative.
Oh, God.
I got a comment on a video
Fuck
and it said, he said, I think he was an Indian guy. He said, hi, it started nice. It was like, hi, mate, like the video. You need to work on your accent, though, because not many people can tell what you're saying. And I was like, I feel like because we're from a small town in England, I feel like we don't have an accent. I feel like English people don't have an accent. When people say, "Oh, I love his accent," I'm like, "What do you mean? He sounds normal."
Yeah.
But then obviously we don't sound normal to others.
No. We'll
but
do.
Go on. That's effectively what he said.
That's like, well. What's in this? It does tie in kind of what this what I was reading about, and it was super interesting, mate. Because to wind it back a little bit, since we did episode 1 all those many moons ago of ITSBUP, when you start, I know obviously we've both recorded ourselves individually, doing various different things, music, just speech recording. It's when you really start to listen to yourself that you start thinking more about the way that you talk and how your voice is and what have you. I also, as a side note, I started doing a couple of written interviews with people where I do the audio recording of the interview.
Okay.
And then, to be fair, and then I have it transcribed, because you have the cheap transcription websites and whatever, which are, because it's, the work of a journalist, it's far too beneath me. Anyway, but
I'm not saying
you see all these things where they pop up, and it's only natural, but there are certain sections where they pop up going like inaudible, or it'll be like crosstalk. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Where it's like we can't, or they just get it wrong, and it's even though that's perfect, that's always going to happen. It starts. There's been a lot on my mind about speech at the moment, basically, and this book was part of it. It's called "You Say Potato," and it's by a father and son whose names I haven't written down. I think it's Crystal. It's Ben. It's Ben Crystal, same as this Ben. Yeah. And David, I think his dad's called. You Say Potato, very, very interesting book. So it talks about why we have accents, how it's also rather what effect accents have on our lives to start with. Yeah. So how it's an immediate class identifier in a lot of cases, or perceived class identifier, education identifier, or the whole tribal thing of being around each other. They talk about where received pronunciation comes from. So the old BBC, very, very, very British. The Queen's, exactly, the Queen's English, and how that was invented, like constructed. Well, not in a short space of time. Yeah. But it deliberately came about by being the opposite of how the working class spoke.
Yeah. So if this is how you should speak.
But to be deliberately different. So if the common man dropped his H's, then proper people wouldn't, and stuff like that. Dude, they talk about original pronunciation for Shakespeare, where they're saying that how a lot of the emotion and the attitude and the poetry of what Shakespeare wrote comes out much more when you speak in this old pronunciation. Some of the pronunciations are very weird, like prove to rhyme with love, so prov. Oh, all that, and how balcony should be balcony. All this kind of stuff.
Sounds American there, balcony.
Right. So it's really, really weird. Yeah, but that's the point, is how older parts of the English language travelled the world. It's almost like a save game from a long time ago. Yeah. So you send those little roots out, and then the centre, England itself, the pronunciation changed. Going back to your Indian friend who didn't like your accent, apparently,
find him.
If in England, the Brummie accent. Now I'm from Wolverhampton, I'm from the Midlands, so I feel free to talk about the Brummie accent. Being traditionally one where people speak unfavourably of it. Yeah. People do tests where they're perceived as being untrustworthy or what have you, which is not true. It's completely untrue. But apparently,
goes with it.
Abroad, to people who don't speak English natively, the Brummie accent is clear. They love it. It's like, we can hear what you're saying. It makes sense. You pronounce things how we're expecting you to pronounce them.
Mate, that's a problem with our language.
amongst many other ones.
You've reminded me of another comment I got.
Shoot,
and he said, "I love the way you say better."
Okay.
And I listened back to it, to my recording, and when I say better, but I say better. Like
Okay.
better.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just
yeah.
say, this one's way better. And I listened back to it, I was like, God, he probably thinks that's so strange.
Yeah.
Like, why would I say better? Where's the T? Have I just gotten rid of it?
Yeah.
Oh, better, mate.
Oh, don't bottle it up, mate.
Yeah. He probably thought, I bet when he listened to it, he was like, oh, he's so English. The way he said that. And I commented, said, oh, that's growing up in Devon for 26 years. That's
Yeah,
what it
yeah.
does to you.
What a lad.
Yeah. Lol. No, but but yeah, that kind of made me laugh. I just commented saying yeah. But yeah, it's interesting.
It is weird when you stop to think about it though, and actually, because one of them was, and as I was reading it through, I was thinking, it's one of these books where I'm reading it out loud to myself. Every other sentence, there's something in that I'm testing out loud. Yeah. But when he's talking about the Midlands accent, and I'm thinking maybe what I've taken from my old Midlands accent, what I've brought and mixed with living down in the southwest, it's the hard pronunciation of the G in things like singer or finger.
Singer.
Like singer. I don't know, and it's really even stuff like that, things you don't think about. But yeah, no, I'm not going to butcher it by trying to tell you what everything else is in the book and getting it horribly wrong. But yeah, you say potato. Even if you do videos, if you record videos, if you record your voice at all, if you talk to people on a daily basis, it's an interesting book. Very, very interesting book. I'm sure it's the Crystals who wrote it. I'll put a link in the
description.
Anyway, yeah.
Nice.
I wonder if we've almost reached the end of this.
I would say it's episode 2 is probably over.
Hey, fantastic.
We've hit the end.
I realised that we could, not suggesting that we're going to be doing this, past episode 3, but people could always send us whatever. If you want us to talk about other things, send us rubbish, send us comments.
Send us rubbish, send us some tweets. We should a big shout out to Randy.
To Randall,
who said he listened to the whole thing apart from the Black Mirror thing. Actually, no, he didn't. Fuck you, Randy.
Yeah. That's just what's he trying to do? What's
I don't know. I hate him. Let's just go on record. I dislike that guy.
Yeah. Well, who would say that? Who would say I've listened to the whole thing when you clearly haven't?
Yeah. I mean, a real low life.
What a letdown. What? But for everyone else who's listened, I think, hey, dude, looking at this time of recording, I looked at the first episode on YouTube. It's up to about pushing 50 views. Pushing 50.
Might even be on 60.
By the time, hey man, well if
it's not jinx, I don't want to check it, but I reckon we're on 60.
But definitely on 60. If this is your
I'm
first,
gonna go home and just refresh it.
Yeah,
come on, 60.
We
playing. Said we're on there.
So yeah, where can people find you online if they want to send you stuff to talk about?
They can find me at Bite Review. That's the best way to go.
Perfect.
That's the Twitter handle I use the most.
And I'm at Benji Wanlung.
Tweet us anything. Do you know what? Just tweet us anything. If you see something, even if you just want to have a go.
Yeah.
Just like, your podcast is crap.
Yeah.
Cool. Let us know.
Yeah, brilliant.
We'll read it out. If
we
you
will.
Send us a
we
really
will.
Nasty one. If you've gotten this far, if you listen this much and you hate us, tweet us like the best insult and we will read it out.
Bring it out. YouTube comments are waiting for you.
Anything. Any comment. Even a nice one.
No, let's not get ahead of ourselves, mate.
No, we won't get any of those.
Okay.
Cool. That's it.
Bye.
Bye.